Welcome back to AM Northwest. It's one of the largest crowdsourced publications ever created, decades before the internet was even an idea. Here to share the amazing stories of those who helped create the Oxford English Dictionary, we welcome the author of The Dictionary People, Sarah Ogilvie. Good to have you with us, Sarah.
Great to be with you, Helen. Hello, all the way from Oxford.
I love it. I love it. So first of all, let's start with the myth of Dr. Murray and talk about who Dr. Murray was and how everyone really thought that he was the one who created the Oxford English Dictionary.
Exactly. So we all think of Dr. James Murray as the editor of the Oxford English Dictionary, which began in 1858 and took 70 years to finish. So it didn't finish until 1928. And he was the chief editor. But to write the dictionary, he couldn't do such a massive task alone. So he reached out to people all around the world and said, could you please read your local books and send me your local words so that I can put them into the dictionary? And can you do that by reading your books and writing out quotations that show how a word is used in that book? Write them out on little sheets of paper, little 4 by 6 inch slips of paper, and send them to me in Oxford. There is a slip, and people did it. People did it from all around the world. So many people sent in slips to Dr. Murray that Royal Mail had to put a red pillar box outside his house
Wow.
here in North Oxford. And that red pillar box is still there today. And Dr. Murray wrote the dictionary actually from a shed in his back garden, which he called the scriptorium, because he was there it is. He was trying to write the dictionary inside the house with his dear wife Ada and 11 children. And Ada said, James, you've got to get out of the house with all of those slips and all of those books. So that's when there are the children, and that's why he built this shed. And he and a small group of editors wrote the dictionary there. But it was really thanks to all of those people around the world sending him those words that the dictionary existed.
Crazy.
And we've never known. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we've never known until now who all those people were. But eight years ago, I was down in the basement of Oxford University Press, where the dictionary archive is stored, and I took the lid off this dusty box, and inside I found this little black book tied with cream ribbon, and I opened it up, and it turned out that it was Dr. Murray's address book. So, and then I found 6 total address books. So we now know who all those people were. We know exactly the books that they read because he wrote them underneath their name and address. And he recorded the number of slips per book that they sent in and the date that he received those. So I basically have spent 8 years researching all of those people. So we now know that there are a lot more Americans than we thought. There are a lot more women. There are 3,000 people. And that's what I tell the story of all those people in the dictionary.
It's so wild. Let's talk about the women, because a lot of women were included.
Yes. So the first female astronomer, a wonderful British woman called Elizabeth Brown. There's a great, also the first female archaeologist called Margaret Murray. She grew up in Calcutta, and as a teenager, she would take books off her mother's shelf and take them up to the roof of their house in Calcutta. And she started early in the morning when the weather was still cool. And she'd read the books and write out slips and send them into Murray. And she did that until she was about 25. And then she came to Britain and discovered archaeology and became the first female archaeologist. There's a wonderful woman in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, called Mrs. Anna Thorpe Wetherell, who was an anti-slavery activist, and she sent in words such as abolition and abhorrent. So there were a lot of wonderful women from all around the world, and their story sort of for the first time is being told now.
I also understand there were some patients in psychiatric hospitals that contributed.
There were, Helen, because what is so remarkable is many of these people devoted most of their waking hours to doing this task, and they did it totally for free.
Right.
They were volunteers. So the top contributor sent in 165,000 slips,
Oh,
and yeah, and the top four contributors all had connections to what were called lunatic asylums back then, but
right.
we think of these psychiatric hospitals. And so, yeah, so four of them, and many of your viewers may know a book that came out 20 years ago about one of those men called Dr. Miner. He had murdered someone and ended up in a psychiatric hospital where he read a lot of books and sent in words. But now we know that actually he was just one of three murderers. So there were three murderers. There was oh my gosh, there was a pornography collector who sent in all the sex words to the dictionary.
Now we know where they came from.
That's it. That's right. Yeah. So they came from a man who lived in Bloomsbury in London called Henry Spencer Ashby, who had one of the world's largest collections of pornography. And there were also, so the book has 26 chapters, and there's a chapter Q for queers, where there was this lesbian couple who read all of this poetry and sent in words as well. There's someone who went to your part of the world. Sir John Richardson was an explorer on the doomed Franklin expedition to discover the Northwest Passage, and he actually murdered someone on that expedition and was tricked into eating one of his fellow explorers.
Oh,
So he stars in C for Cannibal. There's a whole chapter about him.
oh my gosh, Sarah, that's just crazy. And Karl Marx's daughter as well.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about James Murray's address book is that he would often write little comments about people. Like when a lot of the women that were sending him slips, when they got married, he would write what their name changed to. Or there are lots of comments like no good, hopeless, stole the book, imposter, like things such as this. And one of those women that had hopeless beside her was Eleanor Marx, who was Karl Marx's daughter. And the reason why she had that is because she just went into first of all, she insisted on Murray paying her, which was extremely rare because normally people did this for free.
Right.
And then secondly, she just went into the British Library, took an existing glossary, took an existing dictionary, and just wrote out the words on slips from that. So when Murray received these slips, they were hopeless for him.
This is fascinating. We want to tell our viewers the book again is titled The Dictionary People. Sarah Ogilvie, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Helen.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. We'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.